Jocelyn's hand froze over the signature line, her heart pounding as the words life partner. Jocelyn Harper stared back at her from the medical authorization form. How had Gianna Montgomery, the billionaire tech mogul lying unconscious in the hospital bed, managed to list her as such without a word for 2 entire years? The sterile Seattle hospital room hummed with machines beeping steadily, the afternoon sun pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows and casting long golden shadows across Gianna's pale face. Jocelyn, a 35-year-old single mother who had spent the last decade scraping by as a home health aide while raising her 8-year-old daughter Lily alone, felt the floor tilt beneath her sneakers. She had received the call only an hour earlier from a frantic hospital administrator, explaining that Gianna's private jet had skidded off the runway during a storm, leaving the 32-year-old in critical condition with a shattered pelvis and head trauma. They needed an immediate proxy signature for emergency procedures, because Gianna's legal documents named only one person, her. The doctor, a kind-faced woman in blue scrubs, slid the clipboard closer. "Miss Harper, we understand this is sudden, but Ms. Montgomery updated her medical directive 2 years ago. You're the only one authorized. Her family is overseas and unreachable right now." Jocelyn swallowed hard, her mind reeling back to that summer 2 years ago when she had been hired as Gianna's private nurse after a minor skiing accident. What started as professional care had spiraled into stolen glances, late-night conversations about dreams and fears, and finally a love so intense it terrified Jocelyn. She had ended it abruptly, packing her bags and leaving Gianna's waterfront mansion without explanation beyond a tearful text about needing to protect Lily from the world that would never accept them. Now here she was again, pen in hand, signing away her right to walk away. She scrawled her name with shaking fingers, the ink blurring slightly from the sweat on her palm. "I'll stay until she wakes," she whispered to the doctor, more to convince herself than anything. Back in the waiting area, Jocelyn called her mother, feeding her the half-truth that a wealthy client needed round-the-clock care, and the pay would cover Lily's upcoming school fees. Her mother, ever the voice of rigid Midwest values transplanted to the Pacific Northwest, grumbled about rich people problems, but agreed to watch Lily for a few days. Jocelyn hung up and sank into a vinyl chair, staring at the city skyline glittering under the clear sky. She had built walls after leaving Gianna, walls of routine PTA meetings and quiet nights reading to Lily, but one signature had just crumbled them. What price would she pay this time for stepping back into Gianna's world? The thought gnawed at her as nurses wheeled in monitors, and Jocelyn realized she had no choice but to face the woman who had secretly claimed her as family all along. Hours blurred into the evening. Jocelyn paced the room, adjusting Gianna's blanket with the same gentle precision she once used during their brief time together. Memories flooded in uninvited. Gianna's laugh echoing in the mansion kitchen as they cooked pasta at midnight. The way her fingers traced Jocelyn's wrist during quiet confessions about growing up in a family that valued billions over feelings. Gianna had never pushed for public acknowledgement, understanding Jocelyn's terror of small-town gossip and custody battles. But listing her as life partner without consent? That felt like a betrayal wrapped in devotion. Jocelyn's phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Sarah asking about dinner plans, and she lied again, saying she was working overtime. The weight of secrets pressed heavier than the hospital air. When the night nurse offered a break, Jocelyn stepped onto the balcony overlooking Puget Sound, the salty breeze whipping her dark hair. She whispered to the wind, "Why, Gianna? Why tie me to you like this when I walked away to keep us both safe?" The city lights twinkled below, indifferent to the storm building inside her. By the time she returned, Gianna's eyelids fluttered faintly, and Jocelyn's pulse raced. The real confrontation was only hours away, and she had no idea if her heart could survive it. Gianna's eyes opened slowly the next morning, confusion clouding her deep brown gaze as she focused on Jocelyn sitting rigidly by the bed. "Joss, you're here," she rasped, voice hoarse from the breathing tube recently removed. The sunlight streamed in brighter now, highlighting the bruises along Gianna's high cheekbones, and the elegant line of her jaw that had once made Jocelyn forget every rule she lived by. Jocelyn stood, clutching the railing, her mind a whirlwind of relief and fury. "You listed me as your life partner 2 years ago, without asking, while I was trying to build a normal life for my daughter." The words tumbled out sharper than intended, cutting through the beeps of the heart monitor. Gianna winced, not just from pain but from the accusation, her fingers twitching toward Jocelyn's hand before falling back. I never stopped loving you. After you left, I made sure if anything ever happened, you'd be the one who could decide. Because you're the only family that matters to me. The confession hung between them like smoke, thick and inescapable. Jocelyn sank back into the chair, her single mom armor cracking under the weight. She told Gianna about the last 2 years, the sleepless nights worrying about Lily's asthma attacks, the judgmental stares from neighbors when rumors of her past friendship with a woman surfaced once, the way her mother still pushed her to date nice men from church. Gianna listened, her billionaire poise stripped away by the 4 lines and hospital gown, revealing the vulnerable woman who had once begged Jocelyn to stay. I respected your choice to go, Gianna said softly, but I couldn't let the world erase what we had. My lawyers handled the paperwork discreetly. No one knew. Yet now the secret was a chain, pulling Jocelyn into decisions about surgeries, therapies and long-term care that could last months. By afternoon, Gianna's family lawyer arrived with more documents, confirming the proxy gave Jocelyn full authority until Gianna recovered. The lawyer, a sharp-suited man named Richard, raised an eyebrow at Jocelyn's worn jeans and faded hoodie but said nothing. Outside the room, Jocelyn overheard him on the phone mentioning Montgomery family concerns and potential media fallout. Her stomach twisted. She had already called Lily that morning, promising ice cream when she got home, but the lie tasted bitter. When Gianna asked her to stay another night, Jocelyn agreed despite the voice in her head screaming to run. That evening, as physical therapists worked on Gianna's legs, Jocelyn stepped out to the cafeteria and dialed her ex-husband Derek, who had left when Lily was 2. He laughed coldly. Still playing nurse to rich ladies, Joss? Just don't drag our daughter into whatever mess this is. His words stung like old wounds reopening, reminding her of the custody threats he had once waved during their divorce. Back in the room, Gianna reached for her hand under the pretense of adjusting the blanket. The touch sent a jolt through Jocelyn, equal parts comfort and terror. I know you hate me for this, Gianna whispered, eyes glistening. But tell me the truth. Do you still feel anything? Jocelyn pulled away, standing to pace near the window where the Seattle skyline glowed with promise and judgment. She didn't answer, but the silence spoke volumes. That night, as Gianna slept under pain meds, Jocelyn scrolled through old photos on her phone, hidden in a locked album. Their secret weekends in cabins outside the city, laughter mixed with stolen kisses under starlit skies. The price of those memories was climbing now. Her mother's upcoming visit, Lily's questions about the rich lady, and the growing dread that this accident had forced her back into a life she had sacrificed everything to escape. The tension coiled tighter, and Jocelyn wondered how long she could keep pretending this was just a job. 3 days later, the hospital corridors buzzed with whispers when a tabloid photographer somehow slipped past security and snapped photos of Jocelyn leaving Gianna's room. The headline hit local news by evening. Reclusive billionaire's mystery woman at bedside. Jocelyn's phone exploded with calls from her mother, who had seen the blurry image and demanded answers. Is this that woman from before? The one you swore was just a client? Her mother accused over speakerphone while Lily played in the background. Jocelyn lied through gritted teeth, claiming it was professional, but the doubt in her mother's voice mirrored the doubt gnawing at her own gut. Inside the room, Gianna watched the news on her tablet, her face pale. My PR team is handling it, but my board is already asking questions. They want stability, not scandal. The word scandal landed like a slap, highlighting the chasm between Gianna's world of boardrooms and stock options and Jocelyn's of school lunches and utility bills. Gianna's assistant, a polished woman named Elena, arrived with flowers and a folder of legal updates. Under the bright hospital lights, Elena's smile never reached her eyes as she handed Jocelyn a revised care plan. Later, alone with Gianna, Jocelyn learned Elena had once been more than an assistant. Rumors of a past fling that Gianna dismissed as business only. The jealousy surprised Jocelyn, stirring old insecurities about being the poor nurse who never fit into Gianna's circle. That afternoon, during a painful physical therapy session, Gianna cried out in agony, and Jocelyn instinctively held her, their foreheads touching in a moment that felt too intimate for the sterile setting. I chose you because you're the only one who sees me, not the money, Gianna murmured afterward. But Jocelyn pulled back, reminded of the cost. Lily's teacher had emailed about her distraction at school, and Derek had texted threats to petition for more custody if your lifestyle affected their daughter. The confrontation escalated when Jocelyn's mother showed up unannounced at the hospital, her conservative blouse starched and judgmental. She cornered Jocelyn in the hallway, voice low but fierce. "This isn't you, honey. That woman is using you. Think of Lily. Kids at school will bully her if this gets out." Jocelyn defended Gianna for the first time aloud, arguing that the papers were proof of real commitment, not manipulation. Her mother left in tears, slamming the elevator button, and Jocelyn returned to the room shaken. Gianna sensed the shift immediately. "Let me fix this. I can set up a trust for Lily, pay for everything." But the offer felt like charity laced with control, reopening old wounds about power imbalance. That night, as rain pattered against the windows under the dramatic glow of city lights, Jocelyn sat vigil while Gianna slept. She replayed their breakup in her mind, the tearful goodbye where Gianna had whispered, "I'll wait forever," and realized the betrayal wasn't the paperwork. It was her own fear that had kept them apart. The moral line blurred. Was staying loyalty or selfishness? The pressure mounted as Elena leaked subtle hints to the press about questionable influences, forcing Jocelyn to decide if she could truly fight for a future she once rejected. The media storm intensified by week's end, with paparazzi camping outside the hospital and Gianna's company stock, dipping on speculation of instability. Jocelyn's workplace called, firing her for abandoning clients due to the absence, stripping away her only steady income. She sat in the hospital cafeteria, staring at her coffee under the harsh fluorescent lights that somehow felt warmer than the judgment waiting outside. Lily's latest video call broke her further. The girl asked innocently why mommy was on the news with that pretty lady. Jocelyn lied again, heart-fracturing, while Gianna recovered enough to sit up and propose a plan. Move to her mansion for private rehab away from cameras. "We can face this together," Gianna said, her hand steady now as it covered Jocelyn's. The touch reignited the spark Jocelyn had buried, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Betrayal struck harder when Elena confronted Jocelyn privately in the hallway, revealing Gianna had drafted the partner papers right after their breakup as a backup, not pure love. "She always had contingencies," Elena sneered, eyes cold under the bright corridor lights. "You're her safety net." The words cut deep, planting seeds of mistrust that bloomed during Gianna's next therapy session. Jocelyn challenged her directly. "Was I just insurance to you?" Gianna's denial came fierce, tears streaming as she recounted nights alone in her empty mansion replaying Jocelyn's voice messages. "I fought my own family for you in silence. They wanted me to marry for mergers, not love." The confession exposed Gianna's inner war. Years of hiding her sexuality from a dynasty that prized appearances over truth. Jocelyn softened but insisted on boundaries. No public coming out yet, not until Lily was protected. Her mother returned with reinforcements, Jocelyn's aunt and a pastor, staging an intervention in the waiting room. Voices rose in the sunlit space, accusations of sin and poor motherhood flying. Jocelyn stood her ground for the first time, voice trembling yet firm. "This isn't a phase. Gianna makes me feel seen in a way no one else ever has." The family left fractured, her mother warning of disownment. That evening, Derek escalated with a lawyer's letter threatening custody, citing unstable environment. Gianna offered legal help, but Jocelyn refused at first, fearing it would bind her deeper. As they shared takeout under the golden evening glow filtering through the blinds, old laughter returned tentatively, reminding Jocelyn of why she fell in love. Yet the trade-off loomed. Her daughter's stability versus her own awakening heart. Elena's sabotage attempt failed when Gianna fired her after discovering planted rumors, but the damage lingered in Jocelyn's trust issues. The tension peaked as discharge day approached, forcing Jocelyn to weigh if moving to the mansion was salvation or surrender. Discharge brought them to Gianna's sprawling waterfront estate outside Seattle, where the dramatic sunlight poured through glass walls overlooking the water. Jocelyn pushed Gianna's wheelchair along the marble halls, Lily trailing behind wide-eyed at the luxury. The girl bonded quickly with Gianna over stories of robots and adventures, easing some of Jocelyn's fears but heightening others when neighbors whispered about the new family. Gianna's rehab progressed daily. Pool therapy under bright morning light, strength exercises where their hands brushed more often than necessary. One afternoon, alone on the terrace, Gianna pulled Jocelyn close. 2 years ago I let you go because I loved you too much to force you. Now the accident gave me a second chance I don't deserve. Jocelyn kissed her forehead, the moment tender and charged, but pulled away when Lily called from inside. The domestic scene felt right yet fragile, like glass on the edge of shattering. Social backlash hit full force when a leaked photo of them on the balcony went viral, sparking online debates about the billionaire's secret lesbian life, and petitions from conservative groups targeting Gianna's company contracts. Jocelyn's mother cut contact completely, sending a letter detailing her disappointment in your choices. The pain fueled Jocelyn's resolve, but Derek filed for emergency custody, dragging Lily into court interviews where she cried about missing her grandma. Gianna hired top lawyers, standing beside Jocelyn in the courthouse under glaring lights, their clasped hands a quiet defiance. "You're not alone anymore," Gianna whispered during a break. Yet Jocelyn grappled with the moral cost. Had her love endangered Lily's innocence? During a heated family Zoom with Gianna's distant relatives, accusations flew about corrupting the family legacy, exposing Gianna's lifelong battle against their homophobia. She broke down afterward, confessing how the papers were her quiet rebellion. Jocelyn held her through the tears, realizing her own awakening. Running had been the real betrayal of herself. A turning point came during Lily's school play night, when Jocelyn and Gianna attended together discreetly. A classmate's parent confronted them in the parking lot, spewing prejudice that left Lily confused and scared. Driving home under starry skies, Jocelyn made her choice aloud. "We fight this together. No more hiding." Gianna's smile lit the car like dawn, but the decision carried weight. Jocelyn lost her remaining family ties and faced community isolation. Inner conflicts raged at night. Was she selfish for embracing love, or finally honest? Gianna's company board voted to sideline her temporarily, forcing Gianna to confront her own sacrifices. The household settled into tentative peace, with Lily thriving under the stability Gianna provided. Yet the external storm brewed toward a final clash. The final confrontation erupted at a mandatory board meeting. Gianna insisted on attending despite crutches, with Jocelyn by her side in the sleek downtown office bathed in afternoon sunlight streaming through panoramic windows. Board members grilled Gianna on personal distractions, their coded language dripping with disdain for the relationship splashed across headlines. Jocelyn stood silently at first, then spoke up when a member suggested removing Gianna as CEO. Her personal life doesn't diminish her genius, it makes her human. The room fell silent, the power of her words surprising even herself. Gianna's eyes shone with pride as she rallied support, turning the tide with data on her innovations. Outside, in the elevator, they embraced fully, the kiss long overdue and filled with 2 years of unspoken promises. But victory came at a price. Derek dropped the custody suit after seeing Lily's happiness, yet Jocelyn's mother remained estranged, sending only a single card wishing clarity. Back at the estate that evening, as Lily slept upstairs and the water reflected city lights, Gianna proposed making their partnership official, quietly at first, then publicly when ready. Jocelyn hesitated one last time, weighing the societal stares, the lost friendships, the moral gray areas of choosing love over tradition. "I was wrong to leave before," she admitted. "But this time, I'm choosing us knowing the cost." Gianna pulled her onto the balcony, their silhouettes merging under the dramatic glow of the full moon. Lily's laughter from earlier echoed in Jocelyn's mind, a reminder that awakening didn't erase pain. It transformed it. The months ahead would test them. Therapy for family wounds, navigating prejudice in Lily's school, Gianna reclaiming her empire while building a home. Yet in that moment, the trade-offs felt worth the freedom of truth. As the story of their unexpected union settled into quiet resilience, one question lingers for anyone who has faced similar crossroads. Was Jocelyn right to risk everything, family, stability, and reputation, for the love that had secretly claimed her? Or should she have walked away again to shield her daughter from a world that still punishes such choices?